Hello, Leonard, and welcome to Unity of Las Vegas. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. Such a treat to be with the Unity community again.
Again, you've done this before?
Well, as I mentioned to you earlier, for quite a number of years, I would give a talk every Sunday. It was once a month on a Sunday at Unity at San Juan Capistrano. So I love giving the talks and love being part of that Unity community.
So Unity is not a stranger to you, and I'm
Not at
so
all.
so glad of that. And so today we have a wonderful opportunity to share about fatherhood, about men, about divine masculine energy, of which I consider you pretty much a resident expert. Just very quickly, just talk about your involvement in men's groups and things like that.
So I've been a therapist for about 40 years and have been in men's work for 35 years. My first men's group I attended was in Sydney, Australia in 1984. It goes back some time. And since that time, I realized the importance of men's groups. It's really changed my life. Just being in the company of other men to support, encourage, and guide me. Just because I didn't have that growing up as a kid. My father left the family when I was young, and so I was raised in a single-parent household. My mom raised four kids, and I really missed not having a dad. Which kind of, many ways, as we know, there's gifts from some of these tragedies, and the gift was my desire to be a different father and to be involved with men.
I'm so glad that you've been involved with all of the men's projects and programs. And like I said, I think you are perfect for this. I was just thinking about this coming Father's Day. What can I do? And Lisa said, hey, what about Leonard? I said, perfect. And so we came up with a title, and that is Fatherhood, Today's Emergent Superhero. And so, what do you think about that title?
I think that's a fabulous title, Jim. So I'm going to use that title to ask you a question. I'm going to put you on the spot. So,
Okay.
Jim, of all the superheroes that you've seen, can you name any superhero that has children?
Well, my favorite was Batman. He didn't have any. Superman didn't. And I think there's one, and that is Ant-Man.
Uh-huh. You're right. You got one out of three. So congratulations. Most people can't even answer. My guess is very few people in your congregation will be able to come up with the answer. There's three. There's Ant-Man, there's Hawkeye, the guy with the arrows, and there's Iron Man in the future, when the future life he had a little girl. But of course he died, so his daughter was raised without a father.
Mm. So that says something. So what about that touches you that there's no superheroes that are really, well, only a few that are fathers? What does that say to you?
You know, it says to me that really our culture values men who are action figures, who are out there, who are not involved with children. And even those that had children, the children did not play a central role or an important part in a man's life. It's as if the superhero comic books and the movies say the most important thing that a man can do is save the world. I mean, he can abandon his kids. That's okay. You can abandon his kids, leave them alone. That's what Hawkeye did. He abandoned his kids so he can save the world. But it's really a statement to our society that fathering and fatherhood isn't that important or as important as being out there in the world.
And knowing you, you have some statistics on what happens when men don't show up as fathers for their families and the community. What happens?
Well, there's horrific statistics. So think of this 93% of those in prison are male, and 70% of males, prisoners, came from fatherless homes. 70% of those in prison came from fatherless homes. 90% of homeless children came from fatherless homes. 85% of children with behavior problems, 75% of children with substance abuse problems. There are statistics after statistics that show the impact on children, the negative impact on children when they don't have a loving, engaged father in their life. And if they do have a loving, engaged father in their life, there's lower levels of anxiety and depression. They do much better successfully in career, in education, in relationships. So the statistics are overwhelming that if you do have a father in your life, you have a greater chance, you have more opportunities to be successful in your life.
Right. So you've got what I call a winning formula. I like it. You have it is to wake up, grow up, and to show up. And I totally agree that nowadays, for the 21st century, it's inviting men to actually wake up. Because I take it as I look around, we have some men, because of the age they're men, but actually they're walking around little boys. So I'm saying that these little boys need to wake up and become men. So what is your first step here? What are you talking about when you say you need to wake up?
Well, I think waking up now, I believe we have slowly been waking up, but I want to go back to 1978 when my daughter was born. I had to write a letter to the hospital in Australia asking permission to be there for my daughter's birth. I mean, that was astounding. I mean, when I look back, it's just that I had to actually write a letter to get permission to be there in the delivery room. And then even then, the nurse kept on kicking me out because somehow a father wasn't supposed to be there. And we've been slowly waking up. I remember they didn't have change tables back then for me to change my children when they were infants. I had to change them on a mat on the floor around my lap. We've changed quite a bit. I mean, we've been able to wake up, but waking up really means waking up to the importance that fathers are super important. We
Mhm.
are super important. And it's so important for the lives of our children. And my guess is if you ask your congregation about their relationship to their dads, they will have some really strong emotions. Either they really felt loved by their dad, or they didn't know their dad, or they felt abused or wounded by their dad. I mean, a lot of strong emotions about what happens to an individual if a father is or isn't involved in their life. So we've got to wake up to this importance. So we're really important. We're crucial to the mental health of our children and our nation.
It's almost like we are the superheroes that we've been waiting for.
I like that.
Yeah, and nowadays we got to wake up to some of our innate superpowers that are already there. And as we know, men, as I say, one of the things that we do is we like to build things and we're action oriented. We have agency. So it's time for us to wake up to some of the things that we can create. And now, as we do this, we start to wake up your your next thing, and I really like this because not only we need to wake up, boy, we have got to grow up. So what is your meaning of grow up, men?
Yeah, and when you mentioned build that we do, Frederick Douglass has
Oh
one of my favorite quotes. It's easier to build strong children than to repair broken men. Now, as a therapist, I repair or help people who've had very difficult relationships with one or both of their parents.
yeah.
And it's a lot of work to repair a wounded childhood. Whereas we're called to really, as fathers, is to grow up, meaning we're meant to grow up along with our kids. Parenting is not performance based, Jim. It's relationship based. We don't ask ourselves, well, how did I do as a father? It says, no, it's a relationship, which means I'm building my relationship with my children as they're growing and evolving. So my relationship with a toddler is going to be very different than when they're in primary school or when they're an adolescent. And I always knew when my kids were ready to go into the next stage. So I have two children. They're now 42 and 40. Melissa's 42, Nate's 40. And I always knew when my children were ready to grow into the next stage because I started to feel comfortable. Like, wow, I know how to handle, I know how to handle a preschool. And then bang, they'd move into the next stage. And I have to feel incompetent again because I'd have to learn all over. Like I had to learn a new skill about relating to them. So growing up means we're growing up along with our children and developing the relationship. That's what really growing up is all about. It's not about being the macho father and telling I'm going to be the disciplinarian and do as I say. No, it means that I'm learning how to relate to my children as they grow and develop too.
Well, not only are you a therapist and whatnot, and you got schooling, but you've got practical application because you actually was a stay-at-home dad. So you actually participate. How long did you participate in your children's growing up?
Well, I always believed that, especially since working with clients, that the first 6 years are the most important in a child's life. And so when my children were young, I gave up my career to be a stay-at-home dad. And that was back in 1984. And back then, stay-at-home dads were about as rare as pregnant men. It's just they,
That's pretty rare.
I'll tell in 1970 there were only, I believe, 6 men, stay-at-home men, identified themselves in America. Now that's changed, but back in 1970, only 6. So in Australia, I lived in Australia, and people were thinking, uh, "Are you having a nervous breakdown that you're wanting to give up your career to stay with your children?" And I mean, it wasn't easy by any means. It wasn't easy because I was a pioneer back then. But I learned so much about how difficult it is to raise kids. I mean, ask
Yes.
anyone who's raising, it's not easy. It's pretty hard to raise kids and to do a good job in raising children. Fortunately, the mother, Mary Lou, she was very supportive and encouraged me to really be actively involved with the children. And I'm so grateful. Because of that, my relationship with my children have continued to grow and evolve. And you know what I do? This is kind of a side thing for Father's Day. I always ask them, I don't need any presents. What I'd like you to do is just write me a letter or an email, just telling me what you appreciate about me or what you learned. And I'll tell you, it's interesting to see each time they have a different slice of life that, geez, I didn't realize that was important to them. you know?
That's really good. So I love it. You are a man here who is walking his talk and talking the walk. And I just love that. And now we're going to this other phase that I like hearing you say it's time to show up. And in 21st century and what's going on now, we need fathers and men to show up. What do you mean by that?
Well, showing up means that you show up. You're there giving time for your children. And I remember many years ago, a client came to me, and he was a multimillionaire, built businesses, traveled around the world, and he came to me very depressed. And he said to me that, I don't have a relationship with my kids. They don't want to see me. They were adults and they didn't want to see him. They refused to see their dad. He had divorced the family and spent his time making money. And he said to me, and it always struck with me, he said, if I had to do it all over again, I would have given up all my money just to have a relationship with my kids.
Yeah.
And, we see men showing up in sports and careers, and, we get accolades from being successful in the outside world. But by showing up, we're showing up in the lives of our children. And I think it's important that we see other men showing up in the lives of the children, in the park, friends. And so, as a father, if I see other fathers involved with their children, they're modeling to me, I need to show up as well. If they're spending time with their kids and I'm spending time always golfing, well, there's something wrong with my picture. And so showing up means that we're there in the world and we can change the story of men to show that superheroes really care for kids. I mean, that's a story I want to change. Is a superhero cares for kids, and
Yes,
if you're not a father, you can be a mentor to
yes.
someone who needs a father figure. I mean, kids are hungry for father figures if they don't have one.
And so showing up is not only important for the children, but also you're absolutely right. That is how I believe that we're going to teach other men by showing up and modeling because something needs to spread and be more contagious. And so we need more men like you out there just actively involved. And you're absolutely right. I'm starting to see more and more men participate. And also, it's biblical because even Jesus Christ said to the disciples that they were going to push the kids away and say, uh, almost like a W.C. Fields, get away from me, kids, you bother me. But that wasn't Jesus. Jesus says, stop, bring them to me. And he even modeled it. And so if you are Christian, if you're not Christian, if you're spiritual or anything, it really doesn't matter. For us to move forward in this 21st century, we have to definitely show up. Now, what I like about it, we're talking about showing up as superhero. And now I'm talking about that's like a play on words. I'm not talking about uh, extraordinary strength. I am talking about all the superheroes had a quality that was innate within them already. So we just got to bring that out. And I just wrote down a couple of things that men have within them innate in the divine masculine. Manhood is one, action, agency. The other one, responsibility. The other one, boy, do we need this. Protection. That's what meant to provide protection for the family and giving. Now, we have seen, and also what we have witnessed lately, is the shadow side of all of these. The shadow side is coming out through, and it's a lot of people have demonstrated this through the Me Too movement, and women are saying, "Wow, you're not protecting me. You're not doing much good. You're showing the shadow side." But there is another side that we want to talk about that needs to come out. What are your thoughts about these divine masculine qualities that need to come out now so
Mm.
we could be the superheroes that we were born to be?
Well, wow, that's a lot. I mean, boy, I resonated with a lot what you said, Jim. I mean, we are called to be active fathers. You know, we're called to be actively involved in the lives of our children, actively involved in making our world a better place, and actively involved. If we see some man treating a woman or a child, even another man, harmfully, we're called to act, you know, and to intervene and to at least not be complicit and just watching, because we have to we have to allow ourselves to really step into those divine qualities that you mentioned, because I think as fathers we're called to guide our children, love our children, nurture them, set limits for our children, and really be a model. Be a model, because children learn two ways: through cause and effect. You know, that if I do this, this is going to happen. And they also learn by modeling, by watching their fathers. And so, you know, I think, you know, if we have a relationship with a divine father, you know, we can feel this strong connection. And I think fathers are called to continue to develop that strong connection with their children and with other fathers, and of course the mothers as well, because you know we raise children alongside mothers. It's not like separately. We definitely um, uh, see how valuable mothers play a role in children's lives. And imagine both divine mother, divine father working together. Oh my goodness, the change that we will see in our children's lives, who are our future generation, the future of the world.
And I just look at it as that is like very, I call it fundamental, is having men as loving parents, being there for the family and supporting the family and nurturing the family. There was a story that I had heard once before about in uh, Africa that there was these elephants who
Yeah.
were, yeah, who were just going berserk, and they were killing people, destroying crops, and they couldn't figure it out. They thought it was something in the blood. They just thought that there's something was wrong with them. They had maybe had come in with a disease, and they brought in somebody like you, a therapist, and he did an analysis, and he says, "I know the problem." So they went out and got a male bull elephant, flew him in. The helicopter dropped him into the midst of them. As soon as he came, everything stopped. And seeing what was missing in that whole environment was a strong male figure. And these were teenagers. And all of a sudden, when he came on the scene, it chilled out.
And I love that story. It's a great story because those adolescent elephants were taken out of a reserve and relocated in another reserve, but without bull elephants. And that is exactly what happened. They bring the bull elephant in, and all of a sudden, he got everybody in line, and the destruction stopped.
And so, one of the things that I'm looking at doing today is inviting men to just wake up, grow up, and show up because there's a lot of destruction going on. And we've got it within us to turn this whole thing around. And so I just wanted to give you just what's the final word that you would like to say today and to share with the congregation at Unity of Las Vegas.
Well, I just want to say thank you very much. I've known Jim. We've known each other over 4 years, met at a spiritual conference. And so I feel very honored to be with you at your Unity congregation and your service. And I guess the thing that I would want to impart with you is know that fathers are really important. And and if you don't have a father in your life or didn't have a father in your life, that there are mentors out there. So, I always looked at my men's groups and they help father me, so it doesn't matter how old you are, you can still be fathered by other men. And that women also need fathering as well. So, we're here to nurture and help each other to heal one another. That's what we're here for, is to help heal and then allow in our healing we can allow spirit to really flow through our lives.
Absolutely. So as we open ourselves up to this wonderful spirit that's already within us, so that we can wake up, grow up, and show up as men, I'm looking at it as a bright future. And what I'm saying, and I've been using this as our affirmation, my God, what a fantastic time to be alive. Thank you, Leonard. I appreciate you. And we say a blessing for you before you go. I'm going to get my congregation. We're going to rub our hands now. Just open up your heart and just feel this. Leonard, we love you, we bless you, we appreciate you, and most of all, we see the Christ in you and we behold you are a superhero. And so it is.
and
Amen.
so it is. Amen. Thank you, Jim.
All
God
right.
bless you all.
Thank you so much, Leonard. We so appreciate you being part of our service today and blessing us with your wisdom. And so, the title for today, which is inspired by Leonard's beautiful work, is Fatherhood, Today's Emergent Superhero. So, superheroes with superpowers are very much alive in our culture today. And there's some criticism of this, but I believe that what is really pointing to is that deep down we know that there is more to us than meets the eye, and that we are greater than we think we are. And this greater, larger self has the power to overcome the world, has the power to overcome anything that we would experience in life. And in fact, it already has. So movies and comic books are really simply an artistic expression of this. Fatherhood itself is an emergent superpower because dads really have come into their own over the years and are finding and really connecting with their own inner divine masculine. And they're sensing the importance of parenting, not only to their own children, but due to the impact that it has on the entire world. It's also emergence in the sense of being alive, vibrant, and playing a dynamic role in the transformation of the universe. So it's no secret now that we're shifting out of a patriarchal dominant society. Quite typically, when we exit a stage, we exit it through its shadow. And so we're noticing more and more what is no longer working. Many of us who are on a spiritual path recognize this shadow and imbalance. And so there's an increased awareness of the importance of bringing forth the divine feminine right now. But what is truly being called forth is the coming together of both forces, the divine feminine and the divine masculine. The world is crying out for a healthy outpicturing of the divine masculine just as much as it's crying forth for the divine feminine. And although there are many wonderful women who beautifully express the divine feminine, and many men who are ideal examples of the divine masculine, neither are gender specific. It is for all of us to recognize and to cultivate the qualities of both of them within ourselves. So today, in honor of Father's Day, I thought it would be good to focus on the divine masculine in our meditation time together, that we can see and cultivate these qualities for ourselves on behalf of the whole planet. Now, the divine feminine is the creative life force, while the divine masculine is the light of consciousness, being awake and aware. We will explore this now through meditation. So take a moment to find a very comfortable way of sitting and begin taking some deep breaths in and out. And allowing this breath just to experience it actually as a healing energetic elixir as it is coming into your lungs, and just imagine it going to all parts of your body. Imagine each part of your body filled with this living breath in and out. And just notice that it is going right to the places wherever there is any tension. And these places are becoming relaxed. Everywhere in your physical body that there is tension is just releasing. Everywhere that is in your more subtle bodies, in your mind, your thoughts are embraced by this healing, energetic elixir of your breath. And you're becoming soft. And your emotions are becoming nice and quiet. Now imagine that there is a golden glowing energy that is filled with light consciousness that is illuminating your root chakra. And your root chakra is this living wheel of motion located at the root of your spine. Feel its warmth and its glow and its stabilizing, grounding energy. Sense into the presence and the support of the earth here. This is beautiful, grounded earth energy, the geosphere, the rocks and the soil. Imagine energetic rods moving down from your feet into the core of the earth, and feel the power of that holding. Allow this deep groundedness to seep into all the places in you where you feel the need for greater strength and greater protection. You are safe and secure here. You are taken care of fully here. Feel the generosity of the space in its providing for you in every possible way. And just allow your very soul just to drink this in, this grounding, this strength, this protection, and this being provided for in a way that is yours, your birthright, that has nothing to do with external circumstances. And now shift into a first-person relationship with this energy as we are waking up, growing up, and showing up as a transformational force of love. See yourself as the unlimited, generous source of strength, protection, and providence. See this as you, radiating out into the world like an overflowing cup. Feel the generosity of your being pouring this forth into the world, into the physical world, into all the beings that are here and that will be here. Feel this pouring forth from you. You are the strength of the world. You are its anchor of love. You are its great protector, wrapping your arms of love around it and enfolding it. You are its provider, so that all of its needs are met and it is safe and secure. So now sense into the world now as its co-creator, a world now that you have filled with your love. Sense into its radiance, seeing it as healthy, strong, and secure in the love that you are providing so generously. And take one more deep breath in this place, breathing in these wonderful qualities of the divine masculine and breathing them out as your gift to the world. So continue to be in this space as we listen to the beautiful song, Dance with My Father.